come off, Chris?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah?
To listen to you back and forth.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Villanova win against Michigan last night. That was a big win for that program.
Yes.
That's huge for Jay Wright. 2 in 3 years. That's pretty good.
It's unbelievable.
All right, so we have possibly seen the end of Gronk in New England. We don't know. Rumors swirling that Bill Belichick is frustrated with the fact that his tight end hasn't been willing to commit fully to the Patriots this season. But don't worry, rumors also swirling that Gronk is equally as frustrated with the strict confines of the Patriot way. No official word from either side, but it appears as if things could be getting contentious in New England. Chris, could the Patriots really trade Rob Gronkowski?
I think the longer that this goes on, the longer that Rob Gronkowski vacillates back and forth on whether or not he's going to come back and play in the NFL, I think that that's going to lend itself to Bill Belichick being open to moving Rob Gronkowski. Now, let's keep in mind, and I know you mentioned this earlier, Nick, they lost Nate Solder in free agency. That's a huge loss. That's going to be hard to replace a left tackle that you can leave one-on-one in protection. But you also had to trade away Jimmy Garoppolo because that's what Tom Brady wanted. And, of course, he circumvented Bill Belichick's wishes. He went above his head to Rob Kraft, and they ended up orchestrating that trade with the San Francisco 49ers. So there are some glaring needs for this team, and what you could get back in return for Rob Gronkowski in the way of compensation could be a way to try to replace some of the losses that you've already had. Now, with that being said, all of the noise about whether or not he's going to retire could affect the potential compensation that you're going to get back from another team, because who's going to give up a significant asset for a player that's contemplating retirement, even though he's controllable with his contract over the course of the next 2 years. So all of these things are coming into play, but the more and more I think about it, as all this noise going on, as we get closer to the draft, I think you'll start to hear more about Rob Gronkowski being moved around the draft.
Right. The question is, would we be surprised, or would he be moved, or would they trade him? There's no one in New England except Brady that can't be traded. We understand that. I don't think Belichick's going to trade him. After thinking about the subject and everything, the reason why, you mentioned Nate Solder, the left tackle, who's been a rock there for Tom Brady on his backside. You mentioned Gronk being the end-of-the-line blocker, being the best end-of-the-line in the running game tight end that we have into the league. Let's look at the rest of the wide receivers. We know that they lost Amendola to free agency to Miami. Yeah. All right? Besides that, who do they have as a dependable receiver? Now, Brandon Cook's in the last year of his contract. So I don't expect them to sign him to an extension, because this is when typically they either let you go or they trade you. So Brandon Cook is playing for a contract. Edelman's coming off a torn ACL. So you think he's going to allow Amendola to go out the door free agency, send Gronk out the door, and he's got to replace his left tackle. Now, Bill Belichick's a smart guy. You guys can talk about Gronk being not happy, but he owns the right to him. So I don't believe, because of the number of changes they already have to make, and let's not forget how active New England was last offseason, that we had them as the perennial favorite to win Super Bowl 52, which they weren't able to do, but they won the offseason last year. Everyone thought that they were so much better than any of the other teams. So we're early in the offseason. We haven't even gotten to the draft yet. I know Gronk, he hadn't given them word on if he's going to play or not, but I would be surprised if Belichick got off of Gronk just because Gronk hadn't made up his mind yet. Because the other things that he has on his plate right now, the left tackle and the backup wide receiver.
Well, listen, I think it's more likely than not that Gronk remains a Patriot, but I wouldn't be shocked by the trade at all. I walked in this morning thinking it was right around even money if they trade him or they don't, because of the history. When you say we know everyone, no one's untouchable except for Tom Brady, we can put names to it. Richard Seymour, who was playing, it was a perennial Pro Bowler, traded to Oakland. Now, they got a couple first-round picks for him. That was a great haul. But they didn't have a ready replacement for Richard Seymour.
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones was the example I was about to go to. They traded him not because of on-field production. Jamie Collins was traded the next year. They thought he wasn't necessarily, he was freelancing, not fitting the scheme, defense was playing well. Chandler Jones, there was an incident with him showing up shirtless at a police station in the offseason. They didn't love that. And they knew he was about to have to get a bucket of money. Now, with Gronk, what is in the category of them keeping him, he's not a pending free agent. He's got 2 very reasonable years left on his deal at $9 million and $8 million. But when we talk about like potential trades, we saw this past offseason, the ice has thawed between New England and Indianapolis. Indianapolis now has a bunch of these second-round picks Belichick loves so much because of that trade with the Jets when they moved down from 3 to 6. Like, could Indy call him up and say, we'll give you the 36th and 37th picks for Rob Gronkowski? We've got Andrew Luck coming back. We want to get him a more reliable option than just T.Y. Hilton. We want to see if we can supercharge this year with Luck coming back. Like, that to me is something New England would absolutely consider.
I believe Indianapolis is a viable option, but also keep your eyes on Detroit with Matt Patricia. They just got off of Eric Ebron's contract. They didn't exercise the option, which he would have made at the 5th year of his rookie contract. He would have made $8 million. So they decide to let him go in the free agency. They could jump on the Gronk train at that same number that they would be comfortable paying and give Matthew Stafford the type of tight end that he's never had.
Don't you think, Chris, though, at the end of the day, the relationship that Gronk and Tom Brady have, knowing what they've been through together in New England, sure, it's not an ideal situation, but the best chance he has, and maybe this isn't the most important thing to him, but the best chance he has of winning, I know, is staying in New England, finishing it off with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. In your heart of hearts, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that was the best chance for Rob Gronkowski, obviously, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you phrased the question the way that you did, if that's important to him. I don't know that it's as important to Rob Gronkowski to continue to compete at the highest level because he's been in 4 Super Bowls and they've won 2 of them. So the fact is he's already going to be known as a 2-time Super Bowl champion. I don't know that he wants to sign up for continuing to go through what it takes to be able to compete with the New England Patriots at that higher level.
So wait, what
because
do you think the most important thing is?
That's a lot of pressure, Jenna. Well, you see he has other interests outside of football.
Right.
I think Rob Gronkowski wants to finish this thing with an opportunity to have fun.
That's
and if
the
they
thing.
happen to win, then that's great. But I don't know that winning is his highest priority right now.
This isn't about money because he's under contract. He's already, in my eyes, a Hall of Famer. Maybe CeCe would disagree, but he is certainly on track.
Boy, y'all showing up. Y'all open up that Hall of Fame door real quick.
Okay,
How
well,
many years has he played?
8.
What?
8 years.
Oh, okay.
8 years at the highest level. And so, okay,
I keep trying to tell y'all that Hall of Fame ain't for the Hall of very good. It's for the Hall of greatest of the greatest.
And in my eyes, just for the record, my eyes, if Rob Gronkowski never played another down of football, he's already one of the 4 best in the history of his position. He is certainly tracking towards the Hall of Fame if he's not there already. He's got the winning taken care of. He's got the personal accomplishments taken care of. So if now all of a sudden he is thinking more about fun, I get it. And the Detroit thing, CeCe, is interesting to me. Because what do we know about Matt Patricia? Man, he was with New England, but he was not exactly a devout believer, I don't want to say believer, but a devout disciple to the Patriot way either. He is the man that walked off the Super Bowl champion airplane wearing the Roger Goodell clown nose shirt. He is the guy that maybe has skewed, drawn outside the lines more than coaches we have seen for them in the past. Like, he might have a more fun program in Detroit than ones that we've seen Scott Pioli install in Kansas City or Bill O'Brien install in Houston. Like, that could be an interesting fit.
All right, thanks, Chris. We really appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Guys.
Coming up, should LeBron be worried about even getting to the finals? That's next on First Things First.
Trying to get you that Wes Welker, how that ends for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Randy Moss, how that ends for them.
Exactly.